710 ESPN Seattle presents Brock and Salk's Wrap Up.
Powered by the law offices of Heidi Hunt.
Practice. It's over for the Seahawks. Preseason done. Biggest disappointment and most pleasant surprise. Training camp over, preseason football done, final game tomorrow night. So I ask you a very simple question, Mike. Seahawks, month of August, training camp. Biggest disappointment and most pleasant surprise this month of camp?
Start with the most pleasant surprise for me. It's got to be Leroy Hill, a guy that I had zero expectations for. I didn't even think he could stay healthy throughout the entire training camp, let alone make it to this fourth preseason game. He's been good. Yeah. He hasn't just been healthy. He's been a productive player. He's been the guy he was supposed to be the last couple of years and really has disappointed every year. And they need him to be because I don't think they have a lot of depth at that linebacker position, specifically on the weak side where he plays. So no doubter for me, it's Leroy Hill.
I think for me, it's Charlie Whitehurst, a guy that we all begged on an awful lot, a guy that we saw last year in the preseason struggle, the regular season really struggle, a guy that never looked the part, just the way he carried himself, his composure, just everything to the naked eye in practice, and then just the analytical eye watching him play last year. I did not get the sense he could be this guy. He's been in command, he's been in control, he got himself in rhythm, he's been accurate, he's been poised, he's been everything really as advertised this camp, done everything he could to make it a competitive situation, even though it's not. His coach has said, nope, Tavares is the guy. Give some credit to Charlie Whitehurst, who has had a really good training camp.
In terms of my biggest disappointment, though, I'm going to go with James Carpenter. I was always wary of the pick. He came out of nowhere. I remember talking to you right after the pick was made, and with all the college football you do, you didn't know who he was. That's not on you. That's sort of bizarre, right? I mean, he was nowhere near expected to be picked where he was, and yet, you trust the team, you trust in Pete, you trust in John. He came in, he looked out of shape. When I first saw him, I was not exactly impressed by what was going on in the gutful region. I know, were looking at the rear end, which is fine. I was looking at the gut, and he looked a little top front heavy. And so far in preseason action, I've been incredibly unimpressed with what he's done on the right side, and that's why you're going to have to expect that after this fourth preseason game, they'll be looking at the cuts out there and looking for right tackles.
Yeah, it's hard to come down on young guys, especially a guy like Carpenter, not to belittle it or diminish your point because it's well taken. He was not in great shape when he came to camp. You are a professional, and you got to play better than he's played this preseason, though it is hard with 1 month under your belt in the NFL to think you're going to go out there and do very well. Therefore, I'm going to at least give this guy who's been there a year my hammer, and that's Golden Tate. I've expected more. I think everyone has expected more, and it's not just the performance we've seen on the field. It's the behind the scenes as well. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you practice, your sense of urgency, your work ethic, your commitment, your want to. It's a kickoff return, in that week 2 game where you just stopped. You just didn't want to be a part of it. It's getting benched during a game, not even playing a role in the third most important preseason game. Golden Tate's got still a lot to prove here in Seattle.
A couple of other good names, pleasant surprises, just quick hitters. Marcus Trufant, better than I think anybody expected, even after taking the loss in pay. Brandon Browner, I think we've been really excited about to see what the big 6'4" kid can do.
Doug Baldwin
has absolutely been an eye-opener. Thomas Clayton's been an eye-opener. So a lot of guys that I think have played well. David Hawthorne has continued to do what he does. And the backup, KJ Wright, has been pretty good as well.
And lastly, maybe on that side, you still got some things to do as Robert Gallery. And talking to some people in the business, some people whose voice I trust a little bit, not been terribly impressed with some of that game film. That's probably a product of 5 new guys up front. But Robert Gallery, that entire offensive line, I think we all can agree, better pick their game up starting tomorrow night.